Anxiety happens to everybody. And you know when it happens at that exact moment when you want to do something that really matters, something that you really believe in. What if it's not the best version of what you can offer? What if that's not how you can do it, the best way you can do it? Ground yourself in the future. You see, there is this 5 4 3 2 1 rule. Let's say failure is even a probability. What happens even if I fail? We'll be sharing 3 powerful practical solutions. You can use the moment as anxiety knocks, because it is not if it is going to knock, it is when it is going to knock. And when it is going to knock, it is at a point in your life that it is very, 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 very important. What if it doesn't turn out well? What if it's not what people expect? What if it's not the best version of what you can offer? What if that's not how you can do it, the best way you can do it? What if, these questions start very, very quiet in our minds. But then as we give it more space, it becomes louder, 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 and it determines what we do, how we do what we do, the things we choose to do. And eventually it reduces our output, right? And then we start living in a situation where all we think about is what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. It doesn't happen to one person. It doesn't happen to only you. It doesn't happen to only the person that told you yesterday that they were thinking of doing something. Anxiety happens to everybody. And you know when it happens at that exact moment when you want to do something that really matters, something that you really believe in. So the major thing, not that it happens to you, but the major thing is that you do not remain a prisoner to it, because that's anxiety. And today we are not going to let anxiety win. You are going to answer the door when anxiety knocks, and you will look it right in the eye, and you will show it who is in charge. You see, we'll be sharing 3 powerful practical solutions. You can use the moment as anxiety knocks, because it is not if it is going to knock, it is when it is going to knock. And when it is going to knock, it is at a point in your life that it is when you want to do something very, very important. I want you to challenge the voice of fear. I want you to take that next step forward. That's what we'll be discussing. The first point is, when anxiety knocks, ground yourself in the future. You see, there is this 5 4 3 2 1 rule. It's not football tactics, but it's just a rule by psychologists, right? And then 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can identify, 2 things you can, 1 thing. But what I want you to do the moment you want to do something and then it feels like you're feeling anxious about it is remind yourself that you're currently in the moment, you're currently in the present. Anxiety lives in the future. This is who you are, this is what you do, and this is what you will do irrespective of the anxiety. Because if you do not take a bold stand against anxiety, it's going to win you over, and everything you intend to do, you wouldn't be able to do it again. So let's say you want to start creating content. When you start, you're probably going to start thinking, like I said in the first video I ever created on this channel, what people are going to say, how people are going to take your words, how much people can cut your words out of context, how much backlash you would face. But again, those things live in the future. They are not happening now. So what you want to do, immediately you want to do something very important, especially when anxiety knocks, is that you want to ground yourself in the moment. You want to say, this is where I am, this is what I want to do. And you want to face what you want to do very, very squarely. Before I go to the second point, I just want you to take a minute of your time to help like this video, subscribe if you've not subscribed yet, and share across with your audience. Now, the second point is what I call questioning the anxious voice, right? You've grounded yourself in the moment. Now you want to ask questions. Question in its philosophical context is very, very important, right? Questions help you see the reason why you are doing certain things. It helps you be able to defend whatever you're thinking or whatever you want to do. So it's the same thing you want to do here. You want to ask yourself questions. And just like an investigator, you're probing into what the anxious voice is saying, what it is trying to accomplish, right? And one of those questions is this thought 100% true, right? Is this an absolute? Is this an undeniable fact? Is it true? So if the voice says that if you create the content, it's going to go bad, is that true? Is that a fact? Is that absolute? Is it sure that this is going to happen? And most of the time, that is not always the result, right? And when you can get to that point where you know that this is not the result that's going to happen, it's much more easy to deal with anxiety like that, right? Because you're taking a step back, you're asking yourself logical questions, and then you're giving it answers. The second question is, what is a more realistic outcome? Let's say failure is even a probability. What happens? Or a possibility. What happens even if I fail? Right? Is it that I want to avoid failing, or I want to learn from failure in itself? Because now I've told us on the channel that we can take failure as feedback, such that you know the things not to do when you're doing something, or you can let failure become the mind. You can let failure defeat you, right? And then when failure defeats you, you're just not going to try anything again. So again, it's the perspective. And the third question is, so what if it happens, right? What's the anxious voice is saying? What if it happens? It's not the end. I promise you, it's not the end of your life. It's not the end of your ambition. It's not the end of anything. It's just one phase, right? Out of a lifelong career, out of a lifelong action, out of lots of things. It's just one phase. And the moment you settle these questions, you see that you're in a much better place to say that if I start creating content, the worst that can happen is that people don't look at it, or people don't watch it, or people don't want to hear it. The best that can happen is people start listening to it. I start having impact in the lives of people, and then I become a better person for it. Which one do you want to take? Right? Which one do you want to take? So again, once you've grounded yourself in the moment, you want to assume the position of an investigator. You want to question the anxious voice. And then the moment you start seeing the answers, you know that this is the right thing to do. So the last point is the first step approach, right? I want you to shrink the dragon, right? Anxiety's greatest weapon is paralysis. And you've heard this word, analysis paralysis, right? You analyze, you do a lot of analysis, and then the more you do the analysis, the more you see reasons why you shouldn't do what you need to do, right? And that's what you don't want to do. What you really need to do is you want to take the smallest, ridiculous first step. That's what you want to take. You want to generate momentum, because you do not want to give paralysis any space. You do not want to keep overanalyzing everything you're doing. So you want to do the smallest thing that takes you closer to whatever you want to do. So if you want to record maybe like 1 minute and post it out there. You already have to. It's harder to stop when you've started going than when you've not started, right? It's easy never to start, but once you do one, you do two. It's easier to keep going, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to start your momentum, right? And then it helps make the task manageable once you start the first step process, right? It helps it so much. And in no time, you would see that you're not even wrestling with anxiety again, right? In no time, you would see that it's not even something you're looking towards answering questions. Again, you've gone over it, and now you're free to do the things you know that you are meant to do. Journal time, right? What I just want you to do is, what is that thing that has been that has been so much based on anxiety? The things I've not done based on anxiety. I just want you to just list them, right? Videos, writing on LinkedIn, visiting friends, just the way you look, like different things. Just write them down. And when you write them down, you want to take yourself through that 3-step process. This is the moment. This is where we currently are. Then the second point is that you want to question it. Then the third point is, what is the smallest, tiniest thing you can do to take yourself to that point. As I close, right? You see, anxiety wants you to focus on the less things, not on the major things. And that is what you do not want to do, because you really want to maximize the time on your hands. If you give room for anxiety, you will just say that you wake up for pushing 47 years old and you're asking yourself, what have I done? And then it becomes regret. It's what we call the elegant prison. You do not want that. And the more you don't want that, that is why you need to face anxiety in the face and say that, see, I've got this and I'm going to do my thing regardless. Thank you. Till we meet again.